There are a lot of videos out there with people installing the BBR Rear Shock Spring and the BBR Fork Spring. Most of the videos that I've seen are for the 110F models, the 2019 and above electronic fuel injection CRFs. Now, this is a 2021 Honda CRF 125FB, the Big Wheel. Now, I bought this 125FB for the specific purpose of trying to teach my wife how to ride a dirt bike so we could go trail riding as a family together. I got it used and got a great deal. But like all great deals, that means there's got to be something wrong with it. In this case, the rear shock was completely blown out, and the only suspension is just the spring. If you're curious to what only suspension with a spring looks like, that's it. So if your bike is just kind of bouncing around like this, that means your shock is blown out. Well, I thought it'd be incredibly easy to find a replacement shock for this bike. I see all the 110F videos out there, but there was no D&M shock, YSS shock, anything like that available for this bike. There were only two options. There it was ordering the stock shock or getting a custom-made shock from Racetech, which are awesome shocks, but just beyond my price budget. So this is the stock shock that I ordered. This is brand new. Now, I've already put the BBR Spring on it. I didn't have the expertise or the tools necessary here at the house to be able to put this spring, so fortunately I had a mechanic friend that had one of the spring compressor machines and he swapped it out for me. But I do want you to note something. This shock is a little different than the 110F shocks. Now, the 110Fs have the eyelet at the top and the bottom. Well, the 125 has the eyelet at the top and this U shape right here at the bottom. It's still the same principle if you're putting the shock on, that the retaining O-ring spring is going to be right here at the top, so it's got to be compressed to remove that off. Then this sleeve part will slide down once the shock is loose, and then you can unscrew this portion, and then it's the same assembly that you do like on a 110F shock. But just wanted you to see this up close so that you would know that it is a little bit different. Now, I wanted to go ahead and show you a baseline of what the stock springs already look like on this 125FB. Again, remember, this rear shock is completely blown out, so it's just the spring there. That's why it's sitting so low. For reference, I'm 5'11", 165 pounds, but this is how squishy the standard spring suspension is for this bike. So I'm hoping that these new BBR springs for the rear shock and forks will really stiffen up the ride, make it a little more comfortable and accessible for an adult rider. Thought I'd show you a quick video of when I just got in the new parts. This is the stock rear shock for the CRF 125FB. This is the OEM shock. Got this at Partzilla for about $300, about $330 with tax, and that was about the best price I could find. These are the BBR springs. This is the rear shock spring. The fork spring is still in the box there. And you can see this new spring is just a lot more dense, a lot thicker than the stock spring. And you don't need to remove the seat to replace the spring. I just do it so it won't get dirty. Fortunately, it's really easy to remove this rear shock from a 125. All you have is this top bolt right here holding it in. And then down below this arm assembly, you have to remove this bolt and then this bolt right here. All you have to do with this one is loosen this bolt up, and then this part will swing down, allowing for the shock to drop out the bottom. Now, this is on the right side of the bike. That's where the nuts are that you loosen up. On the left side of the bike, of course, there is the bolt that you'll be removing for the rear shock right there. I may have to lift this up just to get it out, but it's pretty easy. And then at the bottom, here is the two bolts that you'll be removing here and here. Don't worry about the chain right here. just get a hex wrench and this will slide out. And then this is the other bolt we talked about. You just loosen this one up and then this part will swing down, allowing the shock to come out the bottom. Now, this arm assembly is still attached to it, so we'll just take this off and put the new shock on it and then go straight back into the bike the same way. Okay, unfortunately my audio got messed up because I was standing next to a fan blowing on high. So what I'm saying is I have removed the top brackets of the handlebar mount so I can get the handlebars out of the way. You can see I've already taken the fork cap off the left side, and now I'm unscrewing the fork cap to take it off of the right-hand side. Eventually, there it goes. Okay, next is my favorite tool. I got this from Harbor Freight. It's a neodymium telescoping magnet. You just stick it in there, and the first thing that will come out is the spacer. The next thing that will come out is this O-ring, and take note that the shiny part is on the top and the flat part is on the bottom. You want to install it that way correctly when you put it back in. Now, for the spring, what I'm saying here is when it comes out, it's going to have some fork oil that comes out with it, so make sure you've got a rag just to kind of catch that so it doesn't get your bike dirty. All right, I just wanted to show you this is the BBR spring, and this is the spring that came out of it. So you can see that they're about the same size, but you can definitely see that BBR spring is a lot thicker. And if you look at the compression of it, as far as like how they're bouncing around, you can easily kind of compress this one down. This one's much stiffer. So about the same size. So for the 125, you're not going to need to replace the dampening rod and the spacer that's going to come with it. It's going to perfectly fit this one right here. Okay, and finally, I don't know if you need to do this, I just thought I would do it. This is the suspension fluid, the fork oil, the 10 weight that originally comes in the bike. And, some of it gets lost on the stock spring when you take it out. So I thought I'd put another tablespoon, which is what I estimated was on the stock spring, back into the forks. All right, this is the new BBR spring. Dropping it down inside the fork tube. And next comes the O-ring. Remember, the shiny part is at the top and the flat part is at the bottom. Now, sometimes it can be tricky when you're dropping it in there because it can spin on you. So just kind of look in there to make sure that shiny part is on top. And there goes the spacer. And then I'm going to put the fork cap back on. So super easy switch out, very easy. Okay, so what are my initial impressions with these new BBR springs for the rear shock and the forks? Well, I like it. Now the first thing I notice is that the seat height is about the exact same as it was with the stock springs. The next one is the most obvious change, and that's that the springs are a lot stiffer than these stock springs that were on the bike. Now, I've only had a chance to spin the bike around the backyard just a couple of times, but these are my first observations. The suspension has a lot more travel than it used to. I don't feel like I'm already bottoming out on the bike just sitting on it. And next, when I'm cornering the bike, I don't feel like the bike is sinking down so low that I can barely kick my leg out. The suspension feels really good, and I think it's going to be perfect for doing some family trail riding. So, the question is, should you put these BBR springs on your bike? Well, that's really going to be up to you. Now, the 125FB Big Wheel, the maximum rider weight's 194 pounds. For the 125F, it's 174 pounds. So it's really going to depend on the type of rider you are getting the bike for. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If so, please like it and consider subscribing. Until next time, I'll see you later.